So I'm filming this intro video very backwards in terms of the actual work of what this video is going to accomplish. This is a bookshelf reorganization video, and we're just going to go ahead and get rolling through the multiple clips that are in here, and you'll see my process of how I'm organizing my bookshelf to something that's a little bit different than my current setup. Hi everyone, my name is Rose, also known as TA Summers. Welcome back to my channel. So as I mentioned before, this is a bookshelf reorganization video. I am currently in the process of trying to move between different boxes to decide what books I want to keep, what I want to donate or be able to sell on Pango, and also reorganizing things in terms of what I want to keep on my specifically my bookshelf where I'm filming. So I go through some of the different shelves that I try to see what I can organize and what I'm willing to work on. It's late right now. The clips that you see are going to be early in the day because I'm going to do a number of different things in terms of reorganizing things before I have to go out to dinner. And then when I come back, once I banker's box is full of books to organize things and take off the books on the shelf that I'm working on, then you'll see what it looks like in the finalized version. And you get to go through some of the books that I own, and I don't expect to do much of an unhaul. I usually, when I do try to pick up books, it's usually to keep, unless there's something about it that I either do not want to hold on to, or if it's something where the book is in such bad condition that I can't hold on to it anymore. But it just depends. We shall see how this goes, and I hope you enjoy. So what you see right here is just an example of one of the bookshelves that I have, and I have several books that I need to actually reorganize and go through. As you can see, a lot of this in this particular bookshelf is sci-fi and fantasy, particularly adult sci-fi and fantasy, and there are definitely books that are even behind that. As you can see, that's my collective Wheel of Time series, and it looks kind of junky down there. I kind of want to have that out and displayed a little bit better than here, alongside going through each of these different series and things like that, trying to decide what series I want to keep and which ones I've read, not read, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a challenge. This is just one bookshelf that I have. So yeah, this is in my study, and so hopefully we can go through it. Even if I don't go through it in this video, it's definitely coming down the pipeline pretty soon. But yeah, so this looks like it might be too much of a task for me to try to pull out all of these and sort through them. So I'm going to start with a smaller project. So I just wanted to kind of like showcase this to all of you in terms of one of the projects that I'm working on. So right next to this other shelf, we have underneath my Minnie Mouse wreath. This is something that my aunt gave us, and so it's just hanging on the wall here. But you can see all these respective books. Some of them are, as you can see, the Marie Kondo books over here. You see my Sex of Crows, Crooked Kingdom duology, some writing books, Tao Te Ching, books that definitely don't belong over here. Like, it's a mixed bag of sci-fi and fantasy and other special editions that I have. Sci-fi and fantasy on this top shelf, Dark Academia on this third shelf here. And then from the bottom down here, you can see mystery and thriller on one end, mystery and other things there, hodgepodge of things. And then you see my trade paperbacks of romance go from that third cubicle on the right down to the last row on this particular shelf. I'm not sure if I want to tackle this one right now, like in terms of things, because it seems like this is a hodgepodge of other things that I probably have to unpack, reorganize, and then just redo. So that's one of the other shelves that I have. And then I have two other shelves in this very messy room, one of which is paperback, mass market paperbacks of romance And then the other one, I believe, is nonfiction, mix of nonfiction, romance, and self-help stuff. So those particular shelves I'm not going to show on camera because they're in places that I can't get to right now. But those will be coming up later soon for as projects for me to reorganize. And then we have this other bookshelf here which is a combination of my library books, which take up these 3 cubes at the top. And then the rest of these are a combination of hardcover and paperback editions of my YA collection. And this isn't even all of my YA collection. My YA collection is in banker's boxes that are in my study, which I have to unpack and otherwise organize in terms of things. And as you can see, I have Blackbirds in the Sky and my unopened book of the month package that I still need to get through. So it's going to be a project of me trying to decide where to put things and how to reorganize. So I have a lot of books to take care of. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to move all of the library books, and you can kind of see like where my gaming system is, the PS3, the Nintendo Switch, all the stuff on the top shelf, some of my book of the month stuff, and then all of the stuffed animals and other memorabilia and things like that. As I mentioned, I am a gamer, and so I have Final Fantasy, the City of Final Fantasy, a new theme that I got the deluxe edition of, and it ended up being not as great of an experience as I thought it would be, but I still like it. And then the deluxe edition for PS4 for Persona 5 Royale, several other memorabilia. As I mentioned, I love Aladdin. And so I have like a little bit of memorabilia stuff, like just kind of like evoking my childhood. And as you can see, bow ties and books. I picked up the TBR card set from Jesse, who is awesome. And I use that quite a bit in terms of trying to find different books that I want to read from. But yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of different things here. But I do need to reorganize the space. Since this is the space that I usually film from, I definitely want to reorganize it and make it a little bit better. So what I may do, as I mentioned before, is probably move all of my library books to another shelf that's also in this area, which is basically a repurposed wine rack, and take all the books off of this shelf and maybe convert it into something of a more singular a singular bookshelf where they're all the same genre and maybe the same type. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do, whether I want to make it all paperback YA, all paperback and hardcover sci-fi fantasy. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm hoping I can at least start the process of reorganizing this. So I'm going to show you all what I've done so far. I've taken all of my book of the month selections from off the top of this bookshelf. And as you can see, I've kind of just left some of my little collector's items on the top of the shelf. I haven't decided what I'm going to do specifically for the top of this bookshelf in terms of design, but as you can see, I'm still rearranging things. You can see the PlayStation 3 as well as the Nintendo Switch, like right there. I don't know if I'm going to move those or not. It may just stay right where it is just because it's more convenient. But as you can also see, I've emptied out all of the books from my shelf. As far as the library books go, I found another place to put them, so it looks like it's a little bit better in terms of arranging. This is probably going to end up being a bookshelf for sci-fi and fantasy, for adult sci-fi and fantasy, but whether or not I do hardcover or exclusively paperback books here is kind of the question. As you can see, I still have several other books to go in terms of pulling these off the shelves and things like that. So we're going to kind of go through each of these books and try to decide like whether I should keep them or whether I should give them another home or put them elsewhere as I'm trying to organize them. So there's that. That's a little bit of an update. The time is now about I believe it's about 9 o'clock, so I'm going to be doing this for at least a little bit in terms of organizing, and once we're done, it'll feel a lot more satisfying. Okay, so this is what we're working with so far. I finished cleaning off the top of my bookshelf. As you can see, like, I've completely reorganized a lot of things, took a lot of the stuffed animals from here, and also just rearranged things in general to make it look a little bit nicer. To kind of walk you through what books I put up here. I have a box set of the Ryria Revelations, which is by Michael J. Sullivan, starting with Theft of Swords, Rise of Empire, and Heir of Novron. I have not read this collection yet, but I'm planning on doing so pretty soon, as well as the companion trilogy with it. I also have Illumicrate editions of Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy, as you can see here. And I have like a few extra goodies that came with it. You can see the enamel pins here, as well as one of the little coasters that came with it underneath the Bowties and Books TBR cards thing that I have here. I also have a signed copy of Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is a signed edition that came from Eaton Press. And I also have the Illumicrate edition of Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. And as you can see down here, I have a collector set of The Golden Compass, Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. These are my reading copies here. I have not touched this series in a little while and am thinking about rereading it. And as you can see here, like, I have some of the same little goodies and memorabilia that I have here. Down a little bit further, you can see that I've already started arranging some of the books that I have here. I'm going to go through each of these, try to decide which books that I am going to keep versus those that I may decide to put on another shelf or decide to give away, so or sell on Pango Books. So we're going to go through each of these, kind of decide. Some of these you may have seen in some of my haul videos, and some of them are on my current reading list, but this looks pretty good in terms of organizing things. I still have a pile of books down here that I need to sort through and just try to decide where I'm going to put them, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But so far, so good. It looks pretty nice here. So I'm actually sitting on my floor right here next to my bookshelf, as you can see here. So what I'm planning on doing is going through each of these particular cubes and trying to decide what things I want to keep on this shelf, as opposed to putting them on other shelves or getting rid of them entirely. But it may be that I donate things, or I may post them generally on either Poshmark or Pango Books. So essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to gradually go through each of these. Hopefully, should not take me more than a couple of hours. It is now the second or third day after I first started filming and assessing things. I had a good dinner. I'm basically like just trying to organize things and finalize what I have on the shelf, and we will see how it goes. So the first thing that I want to do is say that I have Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. I have all books. As you can see, this is New Spring, which is the prequel. And I have all of these editions lined up here, so you can kind of see them in range here. I'm not getting rid of any of those, but I'm trying to see if there's any way that I can rearrange what I have on here to make a little bit more room for some of the books that I have down here. What I may do is essentially end up putting my mass market paperback books that are sci-fi and fantasy on another shelf entirely. So I will try to see if I can pull some of these off and then figure out where to put them later. And you probably can't even tell from the setup here, but these go a little bit further back. So I have some smaller books in here that I may want to put on another shelf. These are mass market paperbacks. I'll start off with Magic Bites by Ilona Andrews. This is a Kate Daniels novel. I'm not sure if this is the original cover or if this is the reissued cover, but I don't have this whole series in full, and I've been wanting to collect it in paperback editions, so I am definitely holding on to this. I also have Carrie Author's, I'm not sure what this particular series is called. I know the first book is Destiny Kills, as you can see here, and then the second book is Mercy Burns. But this was a duology, I believe, that I got secondhand. I think I will put this on another shelf. And then we have Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I think this would be better served on another shelf, but I'm definitely holding on to that. And then I have this Shattered Sand series, which is by Bradley P. Below. Starts with 12 Kings and Chakrai. It's the first book. With Blood Upon the Sand is the second book. Third book is A Veil of Spears. And fourth book is Beneath the Twisted Trees. And so I'm planning on keeping all of these, just putting it on a different shelf. And then we have the Faded Blade series by Steve Byrne, which I believe starts with The Daughter of the Sword, followed by Year of the Demon. And Disciple of the Wind is the third and last book of this particular trilogy. And I think there's another companion novella to it, but I have that owned as a digital copy. So I am keeping all three of these books. I'm just putting them on a different shelf. Okay, so this particular shelf is clear. I'm wondering if I should put the Robert Jordan books exclusively on this thing. So that might be what I do then. So let's transfer these over. Alright, that worked out rather nicely. So I have all of Robert Jordan's books, the Wheel of Time series in this particular cube. If I decide to rearrange it slightly, then I think I'll do that within the spectrum of this video. So we'll see how it goes and how those stay here. Let's see, next up, I have the Kinsman Universe series, which I have reviewed on the channel before, as well as Faded Blades, which I am still reading this particular book, and I want to give my thoughts on it, so I will have a review of it soon. But as far as this shelf goes, I'm going to keep both of these on this particular shelf. See, next would be, I'm not 100% sure if I'm, So this is going to be interesting in terms of what I'm going to use this particular shelf for. So first I want to highlight the series by the Eric Carter series by Stephen Blackmore, which I talked about on the channel before. I have all the books up to the latest one. These seem like I'm going to hold on to all of these and read these eventually, but they are going to go on another shelf. So starts with Dead Things. Broken Souls is the second book. Hungry Ghosts is the third. Fire Season is the fourth. Ghost Money is the fifth. Bottle Demon is the sixth. Suicide Kings is the seventh book. And I have the 8th book as a galley, and I'm planning on picking up a physical copy of that as well. And then we have this series that I have not, I think I've tried to read this series at one point, but I never actually finished it, so I wanted to start from the beginning. This is by Kristen Britton. This is, I believe, the Green Rider series. Yeah. Green Rider series. It starts with Green Rider, followed by First Rider's Call, Then the third book is The High King's Tomb. As you can see, these are in really good condition. I've barely kind of glanced through them, so I'm definitely planning on keeping them and reading this series for myself. The fourth book is Black Veil. Fifth book, I believe, is Mirror Sight. And the sixth book is Firebrand, as you can see here. And I believe there's another book as well that's in this respective series, but I have not picked it up yet. And I was trying to see if I could pick it up in the mass market edition paperback version. So I've just been waiting for that to come out so that I can add it to my collection and be able to read it in full. There are two more mass market paperback books that I pulled from the shelf as well. It's now empty. Anne Aguirre's Double Blind. I am definitely holding on to this. I'm just going to put it on a different shelf for my respective mass market paperback shelf for sci-fi and fantasy. And then also Piers Anthony's On a Pale Horse. And I have read this book. I just have not had the opportunity to review it yet. But I did like this one, and this is staying in my collection. I also talked about having the mass market paperback edition to Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. I am not doing anything with this. This is just going to go on another shelf for right now. I'm still trying to decide where I want to put this because I have many mass market paperback editions of books, and it's just a matter of trying to decide where they will go on my respective shelf. So I have a couple of series that I have in my hands that are actually mixed editions of books that I have the first book in paperback and the second book in hardcover. And what I may do is try to put these on this particular shelf in order to keep them together, but they're not going to be in the actual other collections, since I'm mainly sticking to paperback books on this shelf. My hardcover singles as well as series are going to stay on another shelf for right now. But I have some series that I have a mixed bag of things, and I don't really want to get rid of them because I like the editions. But one example of this is the duology by V.E. Schwab, Vicious, which is the first book, and I have this in paperback edition. And then I have the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition in hardcover. So what I figure I'm probably going to do is put these are not going to be in order. They're just going to be towards the back in here. And then when I have the opportunity to be able to read them, then I can just pull them out when I want to. So these are going to go on the second shelf here. So that's two books there. And then the other one that I have is the Davidbad trilogy, as well as the other I think is a collection of short stories. So the first one I have in paperback is The City of Brass. I still need to finish reading this particular series, so that's going to go back here. Second book is The Kingdom of Copper, so I'll put that back here. Third book is The Empire of Gold. I love these covers for this respective series. And then the last one, I believe, is The River of Silver, which is this book here. So that should take care of at least the back of this shelf. What I might do is have these in the back, and then have the Wheel of Time series kind of spanning these two here, these two cubes, like I had it before, just putting these particular books on the shelf. What else can I put on here? Let's see. I do have this odd book of the Dresden Files, Cold Days, which is in hardcover. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to hold on to this or not. What I may do, if it does fit in here, and since it's the only hardcover of this particular series that I have, I may just go ahead and put it up on here. Let's see if that's, yeah, that works out great. And then let's rearrange it so that I have the second part of the Wheel Time series on this shelf. Yeah, I think that worked out well. So now I just have to figure out what I'm going to put in the back on this shelf here behind the Wheel of Time, since I want to showcase these respectively. Let's see if I have any other odd series here that I would like to put towards the back. I do have this trilogy by Ileana C. Meyer that I thought about getting rid of, but since I took the opportunity to be able to pick up all three of these books, I do plan on reading them before I let them go. So what I may do is just go ahead and put them on this shelf for right now, and then I'll just have to remind myself to pull them out and be able to read them when I get a chance. So the first book is The Last Song Before Night, followed by Fire Dance, followed by The Poet King. And all of those are published by Tor. The other books that I could put on this shelf as well, I have a anthology, post-cyberpunk anthology that I can't really put anywhere else. So what I'll probably do is I will put this on the shelf. This is Rewired, which is the post-cyberpunk anthology. It has Cory Doctorow, Bruce Sterling, William Gibson, and a host of several other authors, Pat Cadigan as well, Elizabeth Barrett, just everybody contributed to this particular one. I'm not getting rid of this at all. So let's just put it here. I also have Storming the Reality Studio, which is a classic cyberpunk collection as well. I have read this. I have not. I don't think I've reviewed this on the channel before or on my Goodreads, so I do plan on doing a rereading of this. And then a couple of other anthologies. This is a Carney-Punk anthology, which includes Rachel Kane, Jennifer Stepp, Kevin Hearn, Anna McGuire, and Rob Turman, among others. This was one that I got from a while back. I believe I have read this, but I have not given a review on it, and I do plan on picking it back up again to reread. And then there's also William Gibson and Bruce Sterling's The Difference Engine. I'm going to put this towards the back. Okay, so I have a little bit more room to put on the back of this if I wanted to. Let's see. I suppose I can make an exception since this is just a 3-book trilogy. I have John Scalzi's The Collapsing Empire series, starting with The Collapsing Empire, The Consuming Fire, and I've talked about this on the channel before as well as on my blog. I have not had a chance to finish reading these, but I definitely plan on doing so. And The Last Emperox is the last book in this respective trilogy, but I do plan on reading it in full. So that worked out well. So let's see if we can rearrange this to put these, the rest of the Robert Jordan collection in front of these. Okay, I think we've got that situated. So these first two right now are done. I may change my mind later on. I do see that these are sticking out a little bit. You can't see it on the camera, but New Spring, The Eye of the World, and The Great Hunt are slightly protruding from the shelf, but at least they're still sitting on here pretty comfortably. The rest of the books seem like they are arranged fine, and I think we're good to go on these first two. So the third shelf, I mentioned Ilona Andrews' Kinsman Universe series. I have Stephen Aryan's The Coward as well as The Warrior here. So you can see these are still going to be on this shelf. I'm not getting rid of that at all, and I'm currently reading those. Legends and Lattes, definitely holding on to this. I love this book, so I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel coming out. I think it's later this year if I remember correctly, but I'm definitely holding on to this. Then I have the Lilith's Brood trilogy by Octavia E. Butler. I am definitely holding on to this. This contains all 3 books in that series, including Dawn, Adulthood, Rights, and Imago. So I'm going to hold on to that. I also have the Level Grind compilation, which is the volume 1 of the 20-sided Sorceress series by Annie Belay. This is an urban fantasy book that I'm definitely holding on to. I'm glad that I was able to pick it up. I'm hoping to collect more of the series at some point. And then I have these 2 books by Pierce Brown, Golden Sun. As you can see, this is a used copy, as well as Morning Star. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to hold on to these specifically because I have them on, I have the whole Red Rising series on audio, and that's usually like the format that I've read from them, but I don't know. I don't have the original Red Rising book, but I have the first book on audio as well, but it may be that I put these on Pango Books to see if anybody else would want to have these and give them a good home, but we shall see. I'll put them on the chopping block for right now and just keep them off the shelf, but yeah. And then I also have the Shifting Shadows, which is from the Mercy Thompson series. I have the whole Mercy Thompson series on the back of this particular shelf. I'm not going to pull them out, but this makes sense to be able to keep this with the respective series. So those mass market paperbacks will stay on the shelf, as well as I have 3 mass market paperback books that are back here that I'm going to stay on the shelf as well. First one is like the Kushiel's series. I have 2 books in that series, Kushiel's Justice, as well as Kushiel's Dart. I do want to read that series and collect the rest of the series in full. When I eventually get a chance to do that, then these will be moved to another shelf. And then this particular book I am never getting rid of. I was able to pick this up as a used copy, and it's definitely one of my favorite movies, and because I love cyberpunk, this is a novelization of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, which is also Blade Runner. So this is definitely staying in my collection. I believe this is just the novelization of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep in with the movie cover version. So this is definitely older and definitely a prized part of my collection, but I'll keep it on the shelf. So now that I've gone through this particular shelf, everything else is going to go right back on it where it was, and then we'll move to the next one. One last book to feature, this is Pat Cadigan's Sinners, and I'm definitely holding on to this in my collection. I love Pat Cadigan's work. She's an influential voice within the realm of cyberpunk literature, and I definitely have a few novels by her, some of which are on audio, and then this one I think is my only physical copy of her work. I do plan on picking up more of her work in the future, and we shall see how it goes and whether I can add to this shelf. I have some room to add to this particular shelf right here. So I think the next route we're going to go is try to see if we can keep things in alphabetical order as I can do so, and we shall see how this goes. So first things first, if we are picking up from where Cadigan is, the next one would be Becky Chambers' works. So I have the this respective series, which I think is this is the Wayfarer series. So it starts off with the prequel on novella To Be Taught If Fortunate. So that's going on here. Followed by The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which is the first book in the series. Then followed by A Close and Common Orbit. Record of a Spaceborne Few. And then the last one is The Galaxy and the Ground Within. Keeping all of those. Next book, I think this is the only adult urban fantasy novel that I have by Sharwat Chadha. I mentioned that I had a few of his middle grade books, so this is the only adult title I have. This is Devil's Kiss. I think this was the first book in a series of books within the same universe, but I'm definitely holding on to this. I really love the cover. I have not had the opportunity to read this, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. And then I have the series Magic of the Lost by C.L. Clarke. This is the first book, The Unbroken. Definitely holding on to that. And then followed by The Faithless. And then I think this is the only physical book that I have of Leviathan Wakes. I'm definitely planning on trying to collect the whole series in paperback for this, but this is Leviathan Wakes. This is part of the Expanse series. And then I have Vox, which is an adult dystopian novel. I'm definitely holding on to this. I think I got this as a galley copy originally from NetGalley. I read part of it. I have not finished it, but I definitely want to finish this and put a review up for the channel, as well as on my Goodreads. So that I will be keeping. And then I have the paperback edition of The Blood Trials by Annie Davenport. Definitely planning on reading this. And definitely holding on to it. I love the paperback edition. I did get this as a galley, as well as the sequel to it, which I will get to as soon as I possibly can. And then I have the novelization of The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I have not had the opportunity to read this. I wanted to read this in preparation for watching the adaptation on Amazon, but I have not had the opportunity to do so, so I'm going to hold on to this and read it. If it stays in my collection, it'll stay in my collection, and I'll give my thoughts about it and then decide whether or not it stays, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to put this next row towards the back and put the books that I just went through towards the front on this, but trying to keep this in alphabetical order as much as I possibly can. But this next novel is The Point by John Dixon. I've read Phoenix Island and the follow-up to the work by this author before. I have not read The Point yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is an adult sci-fi novel, if I remember correctly, so I'm definitely going to be reading it. And then I have the Spirit Walker trilogy, which starts with Cold Magic by Kate Elliott. This is the first book in the series. This is the second book, Cold Fire, and then the last one is Cold Steel. And as you can see, I have multiple sizes of this respective trilogy. These were the only ones that I was able to find, so I'm going to hold on to them and keep them in my collection. But since I want to keep these together, since they're all paperback, I'm going to put them on the same shelf so it makes sense, so I can reach for them. And then I have a new pickup for this. This is by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. This is How You Lose the Time War. I have not read this yet, and I'm planning on doing so. I'm going to put it on the shelf for right now. Let's see. I'm trying to put some of these in alphabetical order, but the first book that I'm gonna put following that, since that was the E's, this is highlighting the G's. So we're gonna start with Neil Gaiman's collection of short stories, Trigger Warning. I'm definitely holding on to this. I have not had an opportunity to read all of this in full, but I'm gonna hold on to it until I can. And then this one, I believe, is a sci-fi novel by Julian Go. This is Connect. Since this is GO, what I'm going to do is I have another duology by Nicole Glover, which is going to go on the shelf as well. This is, I believe, the Conductors series. Starts with okay, so this is a murder and magic novel. So it starts with, since I want to put this series in order, I have a couple of books by Nicole Glover that I want to put on the shelf. This is historical fantasy, and I'm guessing it's called the Murder and Magic series. It starts with The Conductors. This is the first book in the series, followed up by The Undertakers. So as you can see, this cover right here. I'm definitely planning on reading both of them and keeping both of them in my collection. So I think I screwed this up slightly, because what I really want to do is also be able to put, because I mentioned these being a part of putting these in alphabetical order. So what I want to do is, I missed a whole stack that I wanted to describe, so this will probably be edited like accordingly to kind of shift things around. But let me put these back on this respective shelf, put the other cluster of books that I went through just now, and go through the ones that I stacked that I missed. So there is a stack that I missed that I'm going to highlight very quickly as I go through this. First off is the Rook and Rose series by M.A. Carrick. Starts with The Mask of Mirrors, followed by The Liar's Knot. And then I have the Swords and Fire trilogy by Marissa Caruso. Starts with The Tethered Mage, followed by The Defiant Heir, and then lastly The Unbound Empire, which is the third book in the trilogy. And then I have one book in the duology by Case and Calendar. This is Queen of the Conquered. And I got this from Barnes & Noble. So let's see. CL. So this can go here. Yeah, that worked out perfectly then. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift to this particular shelf. So there are going to be some books that go towards the back here. I haven't decided how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try to keep this in alphabetical order as much as possible. See, 4 books that I have not highlighted so far. Lev Grossman's The Magicians. This is the first book in the Magicians series. I wanted to start reading and collecting this particular series, but first I need to get through this particular novel and then see how I think of it, and then figure out whether or not I want to keep it in my collection. And then I have the Black Iron Legacy trilogy, which is by Gareth Hanrahan, and it starts with the Gutter Prayer, followed by the Shadow Saint, and then the third book is the Broken God. So those are going to go on the front, but to put the ones on the back here, let's try to keep them in alphabetical order. Since that ended with H's, let me go to the next one. Let's see, this is Master of Poisons by Andrea Hairston. I definitely am holding on to this and am going to read it. Followed by Roses and Rot by Kat Howard. Definitely holding on to this. I have this Elemental World novel by Elizabeth Hunter, but I believe this is like the fourth book in the series, but I picked it up because I like the cover of it. This is A Stone-Kissed Sea. Then I have Automatic Eve by Rokuro Inui. Definitely holding on to this and definitely will be reading this. Then I have The Moonday Letters by Ima Itaranta. And I'm definitely holding on to this. Then I have N.K. Jemisin, first book, The Fifth Season. Second book, The Obelisk Gate. Third book, The Stone Sky. And then I also have the Collective Dreamblood duology, which I'm going to read as well. And then I have this mass market paperback edition of Frank Herbert's Dune. So that'll go back here. And then let's arrange this and finish up this particular shelf. So you might have to do some creative maneuvering to be able to figure out how to arrange this. So I'll be right back in just a moment. Since it's getting a little bit darker, I'll go ahead and put on my ring light. But we're making steady progress here. So I've already taken care of the J's. Now we're getting into the K's. I have the Old Republic Star Wars Revan by Drew Karpshin. And that's going to be the first one that I have here. Definitely keeping this. Next, I have the first three books in the Gunslinger series by Stephen King. I have the novelization of the first book in the series, The Dark Tower. This was based on the movie. I'm definitely holding on to this. And then I have the second book, which is The Drawing of the Three. As you can see, this is the cover for this. And then I have The Wastelands, which is the third book in the series. I have not picked up this series in a long while, so this is definitely one that I want to revisit and see whether or not I want to keep it in my collection, but we'll see. And then I have the L's. This is Magic Dart, Magic Divine by A.J. Locke. Definitely going to keep this and definitely going to read this and get my thoughts about it. It's urban fantasy. And then I have two paperback editions of the Greenbone Saga, which comprises of Jade City by Fonda Lee, as well as Jade War. This is the second book. I showed you the special edition covers that I got from a Luma crate, which is at the top of this shelf. I'm going to hold on to these for right now since these are my reading copies. I don't expect to open up those since those are collector's editions, so these are going to be my reading copies for when I do finish up the series. And then I have the almost the whole of Sarah J. Maas's Court of Thorns and Roses series. So I have the editions that were issued as young adult editions before the series was converted to an adult fantasy series. But just to show you that, I have Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the first book, followed by A Court of Mist and Fury. This is the second book cover of that series. And the third one, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. So you can see this is this series as well. And then I have the novella, which is A Court of Frost and Starlight. So you can see this cover right here. I am not putting these on my YA shelf because since this is adult fantasy, I'm going to keep it on this particular shelf. So let's see if I can arrange these in a way that actually makes sense and gives me room so that I can go on with the next part of this bookshelf organization video. Rearranging the camera angle slightly, but the next book that I want to feature is a Wicked Lovely novel by Melissa Marr. This is Cold Iron Heart. I'm not 100% sure whether I need to put this in YA or if it can go on my adult novel shelf. I think it's supposed to be an adult follow-up. If I remember correctly, I am not 100% sure, but let me look and see. Yeah, that I'm not 100% sure if this is classified as either YA or adult fantasy. I'll have to look it up, but for right now, I'm going to move this off this particular shelf and put it in with my YA books. See, the next book that I want to feature is the series by Arcady Martin. Starts with Memory Called Empire, followed by A Desolation Called Peace. I'm definitely holding on to both of these. Next up is The Empress Game by Rhonda Mason. I picked this up at random from my Barnes & Noble. I have not read it yet, but I'm definitely going to hold on to it and see how it is. Then I have the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy. This is by Brian McClellan. This is Promise of Blood. And then I have the first book in this respective series by Chris McKinney, Midnight Water City. I talked about this on the channel before, definitely holding on to this. Markswoman by Rati Malhotra. This is the first cover in this respective series. I'm definitely holding on to this, and I'm going to try to see if I can pick up the second book in this respective series, but this is the first one. Then I have Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is the cover for this. And then I have Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia here as well. And then I have a bunch of paperback, mass market paperbacks back here. I'm going to go through them, but they're not going to stay here. So I have the Jensen Murphy Ghost for Hire series, Only the Good Die Young. Another One Bites the Dust in the same series, as well as Every Breath You're Taking. It's a urban fantasy trilogy, but this is going to be on my mass market paperback shelf for sci-fi and fantasy. Then I have two books by Simon R. Green. I mentioned these on the channel before, I think. The Man with the Golden Torque. It's covered right here. And then Ghost of a Smile, which is a part of the Ghost Finders series. And these are the only two of these respective series that I have. So these are going to go on the mass market paperback shelf. And I'll try to see how they are and then see if I want to collect any more of the books in this series. And then I have the Sprawl trilogy, which starts with Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is the original paperback edition. It's quite old. Count Zero, which is the follow-up to Neuromancer, and then followed by Mona Lisa Overdrive. Definitely holding on to all of those. And then I have Neil Gaiman's American Gods. This is going to go on the mass market paperback shelf. And then I have the three books in this respective series by Kevin Hearn. Which starts with Hounded. followed by Hexed, and then I have a signed edition of Trapped. I'm not sure where the rest of these books are, but I know I have them, and they're just going to go on the mass market paperback shelf for sci-fi and fantasy. And then I have this Respective Duology, which is also by Kevin Hearn, Blight of Black Wings. This is the first book in the series, followed by A Plague of Giants. Definitely holding on to all of those. I forgot about this Respective book again. I'm going to have to rearrange things slightly to be able to accommodate for it, but this is a fantasy novel that I have not had the opportunity to pick up. This is by T.L. Huchu, and this is The Library of the Dead. I'm definitely going to try to see if I can read this and give my thoughts about it, and whether it stays or not in my collection. I'll decide then, but I've heard mixed opinions about it, but I definitely want to hold on to it for right now. Next book I want to highlight is the second in the 2-book series for the Janet Watson Chronicles. This is The Hound of Justice by Claire Odell. Definitely holding on to that. I actually really enjoy that series. I just need to write a review of it. And then I have a trilogy here that's also by Claire Odell, which is a fantasy trilogy. Starts with Passion Play. I think it's called the River Souls trilogy. So it starts with Passion Play, followed by A Queen's Hunt. And then the third book in the series is Allegiance. Definitely holding on to this, and definitely want to give a full review of this respective series. Then I have this book, which is the first in a trilogy by Megan O'Keefe. This is Velocity Weapon. I definitely need to read this, and then I need to decide whether or not I want to pick up the other 2 books in the series and complete my collection, but that's definitely coming down the pipeline, and I'm holding on to this. And then there's Son of the Storm, which is the first in its respective series. I think the sequel is supposed to be coming out later on this year. Definitely looking forward to it, but I definitely need to read this and give my thoughts about it and review it. And then I have El Penelope Song of Blood and Bone. I remember the cover of this and the hardcover being a different edition, but I definitely wanted to hold on to the paperback. I need to collect the rest of the books in the series, but I want to read this first and give my thoughts about it, and then try to see if I can pick up the other copies in this respective series. I read part of it. I have not finished it, but I really liked what I've read of it so far. And then I have these 2 books by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the 6 World duology, which starts with Trail of Lightning, followed by Storm of Locust. I'm definitely holding on to both of these. And then I have Kit Rocha's Deal with the Devil. This is the Mercenary Librarians series, and this is the first book, so I definitely need to read this, give my thoughts about it, and then I have the second book in the series as a galley, which I definitely plan on reading. So let's see if I can arrange this cubicle and then move on to the next one. See, next up I have the Witcher series, and this is not all of the books in this respective series that I have, but I do have the first collection of short stories, The Last Wish, and as you can see, this is the edition that was based on the games. I know that they have new reissued paperback as well as hardcover editions, but I just have an affinity for these because I love the games, so I'm gonna hold on to this one, particularly for The Last Wish, because I like this edition. And then next I have the first book in the series, which is Blood of Elves. This is in a mass market paperback edition. I'm trying to see if I can find the larger edition for this. So what I may do is I may put this on Pango Books to go ahead and sell, and then see if I can find like matching covers to match the size of my books, just so that it's easier to keep track of. So that will be put on Pango Books. And then I have Time of Contempt, which is the second book. And then I have Lady of the Lake, which is the fifth book. Next up, I have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I'm actually going to hold on to this one because I did like this particular book, but I don't see myself going back to read the third book in the series, but I will come back to the first two books in the series. You saw this is the first book in the series, A Deadly Education. Second book is The Last Graduate, and I have The Last Graduate as a digital copy, so I'm going to hold on to this. Next up, I have the Burning Kingdoms series, which starts with The Jasper Throne by Tasha Suri. And I've talked about it on the channel before. Followed up by The Oleander Sword. So I'm definitely going to read these and hold on to these. And then I have Tasha Suri's other duology series, which is the Books of the Amba. Starts with Empire of Sand, followed by Realm of Ash. And I'm definitely holding on to these. And then I have the first book in the Empire of the Wolf series by Richard Swan. This is The Justice of Kings. I'm definitely planning on reading this and keeping this in my collection. Then I have Naivo's The Chosen and the Beautiful, the paperback edition. And then I have Heather Walters' duology, which is the Malice series. This is Malice, followed by Misrule. And I'm definitely holding on to these. And then I have the first book in the Lightbringer series, which is The Black Prism. And then I have all three books in the Burning Bladed Silver Eye series by Django Wexler, which first starts off with Ashes of the Sun. This is the cover for this. Followed by Blood of the Chosen, which is the second book. And then the last book in the trilogy, which is Emperor of Ruin. And I'm keeping all of these. So let me rearrange these stealthily, and then we'll see what the last cube has to hold. Forgot to mention my very first book that I read from G. Willow Wilson, and I read this book as a galley, and I ended up picking up a physical copy of it because I love the cover of it and I always wanted to revisit it. This is A Leaf the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson, and as you can see, this is the cover, and I forgot to mention that this was going on this particular shelf. So that'll be the last book on this part, and then I'm going to the last cubicle book that another book I have from G. Willow Wilson. This is The Bird King paperback edition. And then I have all of Stella Williams' series, which I was very happy to win in a bid for a fundraiser in terms of things. So this is the Secret of Ceres series. Starts with Ferocious, followed by Dauntless, then Earnest, and then Zenith is the final book in the series. So I'm definitely holding on to all of these. All of these are signed. I'm happy to have them, and I definitely want to read them very, very soon. These are all urban fantasy, adult urban fantasy. So I'm looking forward to them, and we shall see how they go. So that is everything for the trade paperback editions in terms of things. Now I have to figure out what I want to fill this ladder cube here, because it has a lot of space in terms of things. I'm wondering if, oh, I forgot one more book. So this is a compilation of urban fantasy from a number of different authors. I think it's, yeah, fairy tales, 20 eerie fairy tales, which includes Melissa Marr and a number of different, Devin Monk, Colleen Gleason, among a number of tales. This is Once Upon a Ghost. I think this is out of print, if I remember correctly, but this is a collection of short stories, so this is going to go on this shelf as well. So let's see. Trying to think of what other series I could have up on here, whether or not I want to make it mass market paperback series or something else to put in the back just to round out this bookshelf organizational video, and I'll show you the final one once I'm finished with it. So what I ended up deciding to do is I have several mass market paperback series that I have towards the back in here. I have Stephen Blackmore's respective series in here in terms of all the books that I have from him, as well as the Sprawl trilogy by William Gibson already in here. I also wanted to add the Age of Steam trilogy, which is by Devin Monk, which starts with Dead Iron, followed by 10 Swift, and then lastly Cold Copper. So this is going in the back here too. And then I also have the Mass Effect Andromeda trilogy, which starts with Initiation. This is by N.K. Jemisin and Matt Walters. And then Nexus Uprising, which is by Jason M. Hough and Casey Alexander. And then Annihilation, which is by Catherine M. Valenti. So I'm definitely putting this here, since I can keep track of it here. I think that's all that'll fit right towards the back. So let's see, if I put these here, I may be able to fit one other series here too. Yes, I should be able to fit another mass market series here. So I'm just going to try to figure out which of these series I want to put on this particular shelf. So very quick update. I decided to keep Blood of Elves, which is the first book in the Witcher series, for right now, instead of listing on my Pango books, because I do want to read it and experience it for myself before I exchange it for a different size copy if I can find one. And other than that, I think we're pretty much good to go. I did decide to put Kristen Britton's Green Rider series on the end here, like in this respective things. It looks pretty nice in terms of the way that I arrange it. So we are finally done with this bookshelf organization video. So I'm gonna finish cleaning up, give a wrap up of the final product, and give you my thoughts. So this is the final look of my bookshelf as of now in terms of how I've organized things. It actually looks really quite nice, and I'm quite pleased with it in terms of how everything turned out. And as you can see, I have arranged it in terms of alphabetical order for these various series, and being able to give you my thoughts about keeping them, as well as just making sure that everything is in its rightful place. I definitely plan on, for the books that I have not read, I definitely plan on picking them up. And I also want to be able to reread several of these as I can make the time to do so. So thank you for following me on this respective journey in terms of organizing this bookshelf. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be informed of when I post new videos. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next video. Bye.